unconstructed, unsuccessful, unpopular, destroyed, stolen, lost, forgotten, concealed, and unallowed inventions, Part 6. This is another experimental plane from World War II. This is the German Focke-Wulf bomber, an experimental plane with swept wings and retractable wheels. This plane was never built. It had rockets. It would have had rockets. The Werkstahl X-4 missile. If this plane was built, it would have drastically transformed the war, and history would have been very different. This model is all that's left. This plastic toy model. This is how it would have looked like. This is a metal scale model. Here's another toy version of it. This is one of our better aircrafts. It was nicknamed Hunchback. This was one of Nikola Tesla's inventions, the Wardenclyffe Tower. 1901. This is a colored version. This is how it would have looked like. A tower with a giant copper dome. This is like a mansion. I wonder if Tesla would have lived here. Basically, the idea was to build several of these all over the world, and these towers would beam energy, electricity, and information in unlimited quantities all over the world, giving everyone unlimited power, electricity, energy, and information for free. But the tower was demolished and never rebuilt, and Tesla's dream died. I really like this one. This is the Curtiss-Wright Air Car 2500. Several of these were made. This is one of the few survivors. There's another one, but it's in much worse condition. This was a giant air car. There were two air engines, one on the front, one on the back. It could rise several millimeters off the ground. This car had a lot of potential. This car could have been the future if they just stuck on it and worked on it a little more. This car had so much potential. This one could have been it. It could have actually been it. It almost made it. But now, it's in this little aircraft museum. Another relic tossed in a museum. This one. This is the Heron engine. This device is actually from the Roman period, over 2,000 years ago, over thousands of years ago. This is actually the first steam engine ever. There was fire here, and this caused this sphere to rotate. This is actually the first steam engine ever. According to some hypothesis, if this was actually some Roman invented this or discovered this, and they just left it forgotten for thousands of years. Nobody ever thought to use this. But if some hypotheses are correct, if this thing was used properly, the Industrial Revolution could have actually happened during the Roman period. The Industrial Revolution could have happened thousands of years ago. But it was forgotten for centuries. This thing could have rewritten history if it was used when it was first discovered or built. If this thing was used, there might have been trains and railway lines all over the world by the time people were still using horses and swords and shields. This is again another one of Buckminster's giant dome designs. This is another version of it. This is a scale model. Here we have a large area, a large city, enclosed in a giant dome. An environmental dome, an envirodome, enviroalarm dome. It was never built. This is one of my favorites. Just like Damascus steel, this is one of my most favorites. This is unbreakable glass. Another lost invention. This was also developed in the Roman times. The legend goes that during Emperor Tiberius's reign, Emperor Tiberius was a real paranoid, sadistic and cruel emperor. A glassmaker invented a glass, or some sort of jar, and presented it to Emperor Tiberius. Emperor Tiberius threw it on the ground with all his strength, but it didn't damage. It didn't shatter, it didn't break. It was just a small dent. Then the inventor took the glass, took out a small hammer, and hammered the hole, and it was as good as new. The emperor asked if anybody else knew the secret to this marvelous new invention, and when the glassmaker said nobody knows except him, the emperor ordered the inventor's head to be decapitated, and his workshop burned to the ground. And the formula for unbreakable glass was lost. And today, thousands of years later, the formula is still unknown. This is one of my favorites. Again, another one of my favorites, perpetual motion machines. This is one of the most ultimate inventions that could ever be designed in infinity. Hundreds of different versions of these were designed or built or drawn, but none of these ever worked. Some of these might have been suppressed by the forces of evil and darkness and deception. This is one of the greatest inventions that can ever be built. But still, nothing ever happened. This is another Russian invention, the corkscrew tank. Number 53. The idea was to create a tank with corkscrews that can pass through any terrain. It worked, but it was slow, and the invention wasn't popular and never took off. But it's a very interesting idea. This is another one of Nikola Tesla's drawings, designs, dreams. Here is Wardenclyffe Tower, and here in the back you can see aircrafts and dirigibles and airships powered by laser beams. This is how the future would have looked like if Tesla achieved his dreams, but this never came about and nothing happened. These drawings are all that's left. Here is another failed invention, the cannon scooter, or the scooter cannon. The idea was to mount a cannon on a scooter. The invention could fire at enemies, but there was no protection against enemy fire, so it was impractical, and the invention never took off. And that's it. Here is Damascus steel again. But these three are my favorites. Unbreakable glass, perpetual motion machines, and Damascus steel.